Hello everyone, welcome to WGBS TV Live, brought to you by SupermanHomepage.com, the number one Superman fan site in the world. In this, our June 2nd, 2020 show, we're going to be covering a range of topics, including some speculation about Henry Cavill's movements. We're going to be talking about Darkseid in the Justice League movie. We're going to be talking about Dean Cain's recent comments, comic books, and so much more. We're also going to be turning to you to answer your questions and comments about any particular Superman topic you would like to discuss, and to let you know how all that works and how you can get involved in tonight's show. Let me introduce you to my co-host, waiting patiently on the other side of the world, Mr. Michael Bailey. Hey, Mike.
Hey, Steve. How's it going today?
Well, thanks, mate. And you?
It's exciting over here, but that's not what we're here to talk about tonight. This is WGBS Live, and we're here to talk about Superman. And that means we want to hear from the Superman fans that are watching us live on YouTube right now. So if we don't have a whole lot on the itinerary, which this week it's a 50-50 shot, because that Henry Cavill talk probably could go longer than we both probably are expecting. But we don't have a lot going on, and about halfway through the show, we're going to start taking calls. And to do that, and to get in on that, you're going to need Skype. Go to Skype, find Superman homepage, message us that you'd like to be on the show, and we'll try to fit you in. Now, a couple things, and this is kind of important. One, message us. Don't just, get all antsy and start trying to call us because it can screw things up. And two, if you are watching WGBS Live and using an external speaker, please turn that down before we call you so that the audio doesn't get all screwed up, because my audio is apparently also on the loud side, so I'll kind of scale back my voice because
I can do that here.
We're on a bit of a delay, and that can screw things up.
Yes. Now, for those of you tuning in live via YouTube to watch tonight's show, we invite you to join in and chat with fellow fans, post your comments, ask questions, and Michael and I will keep an eye on those and react to them as the show goes on. And if you want your comment featured live on screen during the show, feel free to post a super chat. All you have to do is click on the dollar bill sign in the chat screen. A slider will appear on your screen. Decide on a dollar amount that you're prepared to donate to this show, and we'll feature your comment or question on screen live. And a huge thanks to our sponsors and patrons, Douglas Meacham, John Patrick Van Pelt, and Tina Murray. We appreciate your support. Well, Michael, 2020 continues to deliver. It's just been one heck of a year. Here in Australia, we had bushfires, then we had floods, then everybody had COVID-19. Now you guys are going through race riots, and that's kind of going global with everybody supporting what's happening there with the movement. And in solidarity, I'm wearing a black shirt, kind of with a barbed wire, kind of made sense to me. We've got Superman standing vigilant in the background. What trying times we're going through in the world.
Yeah, it's one of those things where this is why I never say it can't get any worse. I learned that years ago, but this is like a really kind of stark reality of why you don't do that, because if you would have told me at the beginning of this year that we would have had a pandemic and civil unrest, there were 25 earthquakes recorded around Yellowstone National Park. And if you're not aware, underneath Yellowstone is what's known as a caldera, or a supervolcano, that is apparently due to erupt anytime within the next couple thousand years. So, right now, it's just okay, I saw it on social media today, who had a supervolcano on their 2020 bingo card? Because this is... I'm really just, the best way to say it, I'm tired. And I say that from an extreme stance of privilege, that I have not been directly affected by any of this. But I care about my fellow person. And just seeing all of this is just, and going through it, and, going through this constant state of what's going to happen next, and not really trusting those in authority. It's time for this generation to man up, I guess is the best way to say that.
Big time. And so, yeah, while we are obviously standing in solidarity, or sitting as we are, with what's going on there, and are definitely mindful of everything that's happening. We're trying to go here for the next hour, give you a bit of an escape from the reality of the world, give you a bit of lighthearted, release from what's going on, and hopefully entertain you a little bit with some discussion about the Man of Steel, who of course stands for hope, truth, justice, and all that. So let's make sure we give you what you are anticipating from this show, and move on with what we hope is some good news, although I'm kind of a little bit dubious about what's being said about Henry Cavill. Now, he turned up during the live watch party that Zack Snyder held for Man of Steel, was it last week, the week before, where they made the big Justice League Snyder Cut announcement that'll be happening on HBO Max in 2021. And that set off this speculation about whether Henry Cavill was back in the good books with Warner Brothers. And rumors and speculation started swirling around the internet, and then became reported by some legitimate media like Variety and those of the same ilk, saying that Henry Cavill was indeed in talks with Warner Brothers about returning to the role, or coming back to the role of Superman in some capacity, but not necessarily in his own film.
Yeah, the comparison they made was that it would be like the Hulk in the Avengers films. And that immediately got my Superman sense tingling, because I'm a fan of the Marvel films. The Hulk is my absolute favorite Marvel character ever.
Oh, wow.
And because of rights issues, they were not, outside of the movie that we saw together, I will cherish that memory always. Outside of the one solo movie, his story was basically told in other people's movies because Universal owned the rights to the films and they weren't giving that up. So when they say, we're going to use Superman in a Hulk-like capacity, I don't want Superman's story to be told in other people's movies, or him just to be a glorified guest star. I'm the same. It's just, it baffles me that you would do that. Now, are they saying that as in, okay, until we get everything ironed out, we're going to have him appear in this movie and that movie, and then that kind of gets interest up for a Superman solo film? Then that's cool, but I want all roads to eventually lead to a Superman solo film.
Yeah, if that's the end goal, then okay, that's fair enough. There's no script at the moment. There's nothing, no plans for a Man of Steel 2, if you want to call it that, anything along those lines. There's no standalone Superman movie currently underway at Warner Brothers. But Henry's obviously still very much invested in the character, still wants to be part of the character. So if they can keep him involved and keep him relevant by having him appear in other superhero films, so that he can then go on to star in his own standalone film, yes, okay, I'm on board with that. Keeps him front and forth, in our minds, keeps him in front of the audience, and therefore tells his story. He's obviously involved in the universe. He's involved with other characters. He inspires other characters. We saw that in Shazam. There's been talk of the Black Adam movie, and the Rock, Dwayne Johnson wants Superman involved in that film. So if Superman can appear in those movies and even have a co-star, in those films, then, and it leads to his own film, okay, I'm on board with that. But don't just let him be a bit part character for the sake of just having him show up. And I wouldn't think that Henry would be in for that, because one, it kind of diminishes his role, and two, that's a big investment in time and energy to get into or stay in shape to be in that role. If it's only a short cameo, yes, he's in shape for The Witcher and he's continuing to be, it's part of his lifestyle, but there's different training techniques and different shapes and body image that he needs for the different roles. It's not just let's bulk up and go into the gym.
Yeah, I mean, they changed the costume, it seems like, every film, so he would probably get another new version of the same costume. So it's not about fitting into the old costume, but yeah, it's just I honestly don't. We have occasionally when we were doing the radio version of this, and now the where you get to see us version of this uh, video. That's the word I'm looking for. We have talked occasionally and not gotten too deep into it because it does make us sound kind of like conspiracy theorists that that Warner Brothers and DC Comics doesn't care for Superman, and to a certain extent, and that's a common fanboy complaint, and I'll cop to it. But if this is the direction they go in, I'm kind of thinking maybe that's exactly the case. They are just not invested in this character for one reason or another, and it seems like every decision they've made to quote unquote fix the character or fix what they perceive are the problems with the character, there's like this serious blowback from a certain segment of the audience. And that is not to diminish those that love Man of Steel and love BVS and are really excited for the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League. I'm not saying you're wrong because we're talking about a fictional character. And I think this year has taught us that there are things that we need to be really upset about and then things that we can be kind of fun upset about if we really want to.
Yeah. Anthony,
but
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
But it just seems like every once in a while they make a decision and you're like, do they even want this character anymore?
Yeah, it feels that way as Superman fans sometimes. Anthony in the comments saying, whatever happened to the Supergirl movie that was supposed to happen? That's kind of fallen by the wayside, and I don't know if that's just because of COVID-19 and the hiatus that the movie industry has taken. It's just kind of stalled. I mean, there was even a Bizarro movie or a Lobo movie or whatever they were trying to do at one stage that were in the plans. That's Hollywood for you. And because the internet jumps on these things that we hear about before they actually come to fruition, a lot of plans die on the vine and never actually, bear fruit. So it's still out there as far as we know. Just nothing has happened.
Yeah, back in the '90s, early '90s, I collected a magazine called Comic Scene, which was a bi-monthly magazine about comic books that was put out by the same company that did Starlog and Fangoria. And in the back of it, on like the last 2 or 3 pages, they would always have Comic Screen, where they would run down all of the latest information on comic book related projects, and like all of them were like in pre-production, stalled, and this is just one of those things. If you want a Supergirl movie, fine. I think having a Supergirl movie at this point is kind of unnecessary because we have a Supergirl television series. And I honestly believe that one of the reasons why the Flash movie keeps stalling is, why make a Flash movie when you have a Flash that people can watch for free on television or on the internet, 22 episodes a season? It just seems like a weird thing to do.
And that may be the argument against a new Superman movie, is the fact that we have a Superman and Lois series coming. So, and we've seen in the past that Warner Brothers are loath to have the same character played by different people on at the same time in the past. That's not necessarily true in this day and age where we've had crossovers and multiverses and things where, people are smart enough to understand that it's just an actor playing a role. There are different versions, different varieties of stories that can be told in different time streams. So I don't think that's necessarily true in this day and age, but it might be an argument against putting a character on the big screen when people can watch their adventures, as you say, for free on TV or their mobile devices.
Yeah, I mean, Superman Returns was different because Smallville wasn't Superman. It was the Adventures of Young Clark Kent, so you
Yes.
could kind of make the argument there. But I also think that, unlike Supergirl, uh, when they brought Superman into Supergirl, the Superman films were already established. So that's kind of a reverse of you have the character on television and now we're going to make a movie about them. This character was in a movie and now they're on television. So
we'll just have to wait and see. But look, if Henry Cavill does get to play Superman again in any capacity, I'm all for it, for his sake. But for the character of Superman, as a Superman fan, I obviously want a standalone Superman movie where he's the star of the film and not a cameo, making a cameo appearance. So we'll wait and see what happens, but I'm glad that Henry's still in talks with Warner Brothers. I think he's still the perfect choice to continue playing Superman. Hopefully we do get a standalone Superman movie at some point in time in the next couple of years. Let's just wait and see. And hopefully it continues on in a more positive light, that the character can, be portrayed in a more positive light moving forward and not be this distrusted, whatever kind of word you want to use, as there has been in the past.
And it might be another like 8 years. I'm going to make a weird comparison here. Superman the movie came out at the end of the 70s and was one of those films that kind of brought the United States out of the doldrums it had been in because of all of the scandals and the Vietnam War and all that in the early part of the decade. So, I think maybe
it's time.
Maybe we have to go through stuff like this to appreciate Superman.
Maybe, indeed.
Maybe.
Well, I like your logic. Why not? Still sticking with movie news. This past week we saw Zack Snyder release an image of Darkseid, a color image. We'd seen a kind of a black and white version of this in the past, but this is Darkseid as he will appear in the Snyder cut of Justice League. And we also found out that he will be played, or voiced, I should say, by actor Ray Porter, who revealed, his story behind the scenes of how long he's had to hold this close to his chest and keep it a secret. He spoke to a vidcast called Lightcast about how he felt when Zack said, yes, you can finally reveal to the world that you are the voice of Darkseid in my cut of Justice League. Yeah,
I'm not super impressed with the image, but of course the image isn't
completed.
It's not like it's it's just like, I was like, is that just a guy? Like, did the Grimorian guard from Return of the Jedi, start hitting the weights, and now that's what he's looking like? That was a weird joke. I guess you have to really know Return of the Jedi to know what I'm talking about. Venkman is probably laughing right now. But yeah, I just look at that and go, that's okay. I hope that looks better in the movie.
Well, let's have a quick look at what some of the interview by Ray Porter with the guys at Lightcast.
Ray Porter himself, the voice of all narrative books on Amazon,
finally say, yes, I did this. It was like, oh, thank God I can finally say this. So I didn't realize it would blow up as big as it did. But
and I think when you did it and you saw the result and all the hard work, how long? Because you would have shot this. I don't know if you shot this. I don't want to get into that. I think you're still in NDA.
Well, there's stuff that I don't want to give away because we get to see it now.
I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I don't even want to read it. But I think what I'm excited to hear from you is, how long have you been holding this in?
Since 2016.
God.
Jesus.
So there's just a bit of the discussion with Ray Porter about the fact that he's been holding this in since 2016, when they started doing this with Zack Snyder, getting the Justice League movie underway, and he recorded his ADR and or dialogue. So really interested to see what kind of voice he comes up with for Darkseid. He is a prolific voice actor who's done a lot of different video games, animation, stuff like that. So yeah, we now know Ray Porter is the voice of Darkseid in the Snyder Cut of Justice League.
Yeah, I gotta agree with Justin in the comments. It does look kind of like Terrax from the Fantastic Four and the Silver Surfer, who was one of the Heralds of Galactus. Which, in all honesty, most of the Heralds of Galactus would make really good Superman villains anyways. So
there you have it.
To me.
So, yeah, Justice League, the Snyder Cut, 2021 on HBO Max. I did an article about, we know now HBO Max actually launched this past week, and for Superman fans, there really isn't a rush to subscribe to this streaming service. You're probably best off staying with DC Universe at this point in time. You might disagree, Michael, but as far as what I can see, all that there is on there so far is Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, Justice League, the 1980 Supergirl movie, Lego DC films, Steel. I know you saw that one and went, woo! But
that's why I'm trying not to laugh, because I am both jokingly and non-jokingly excited about the fact that Steel is on there, even though I have the DVD. But you're right; it's kind of a wasteland. I mean, even for Batman fans, you don't have the Nolan films.
No.
Which I'm kind of surprised at. So I figured, Batman being so popular, they would have dumped all that on there. It's going to be interesting to see how all this shakes out. I'm kind of curious if maybe like all the live action films are going to go to HBO Max, and like all the animated films stay on the DC Universe app, which feels a little more natural anyways. So I am the beneficiary of a friend's subscription, so I was able to kind of check it out. I mean, if you're a fan of HBO shows, there's basically everything there for you. But as far as the DC Universe side, it's a little slight so far.
And it only just launched, so we've got to give them a bit of time, I guess. But yeah, there isn't that much at the moment. Obviously, once Justice League, the Snyder Cut, hits HBO Max in 2021, subscriptions will go through the roof. But at this point in time, not a lot for Superman fans to dive in for.
Yeah, it's just, stick with the DC Universe app for anyways. Plus, you got more comics there.
Yeah. Now, the speaking of DC Universe stuff, animated movies, the Justice League Dark Apocalypse War animated film, I actually finally watched it this past week. Thoroughly enjoyed it. It is dark. It is gritty. It is very end of world kind of doom and gloom. Superman is very heavily involved, although in a diminished capacity, if you like, power-wise, until towards the end. But it really caps off the animated universe well, in a way that I think fans will appreciate. And there's obviously that kind of a reset that will happen at the end of this for future animated films that I quite liked. But all in all, I thought it was quite well done. But it is very dark.
Yeah, I've seen a couple clips. I haven't pulled the trigger on it yet because my headspace isn't ready for that movie yet. I know that sounds kind of weird, but I'm just not. I'm not in the mood to watch a dark, gritty, apocalyptic superhero story right now. I need something a little, not more lighthearted, but not something as dire. But one of the things that I saw in the clips was they have these parademons that are part Doomsday. And that kind of confirmed one of the problems I had with the Death and Return of Superman films, of having Doomsday come from Darkseid. I'm like, well, you can just recreate Doomsday anytime you want that. That doesn't make that character special anymore. And this seems to be like somebody heard me think that and say that and went, oh, yeah, okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to make them Parademon Doomsday or Paradooms or whatever you want to call them. And I'm just like, I'm not feeling that.
Yeah, no, it's only a slight kind of part of the film. It doesn't take a major chunk of the movie, but it does explain a lot. And Superman's look is also explained, as you've probably seen some of the clips where he's got a glowing green S on his chest. Yeah, it really, every character is massively affected by what was pretty much a failed attempt at an invasion of Apocalypse, and everything comes from that. John Patrick Van Pelt is asking, and I can bring it up on screen here. Steve and Michael, have either of you checked out the new Stargirl TV series?
Shockingly, no. And it's kind of in my wheelhouse of loving the JSA, and from everything I'm hearing, both from the fans and from people who know people involved with the show, this is the most comic book accurate of all the CW shows. They're really trying to do it right in terms of the Justice Society legacy. So I'm kind of excited to finally catch up with it. I'm just, again, I know I'm not trying to sound like a broken record or like a gloomy Gus, but it's just I'm superhero stuff I'm just not feeling right now. I know that seems weird. Like, you would think this is something I would want to embrace, but I'm just kind of weary of everything. So I'm not ready to jump into a new television series yet.
Yeah, no, I haven't jumped into Stargirl either. It's got my plate full with Supergirl and The Flash and DC Legends, and I don't. It's just only so much TV I can watch, so I haven't jumped in on Stargirl yet. But I've heard some good things from people saying that it is quite true to the source material, and with Jeff Johns involved. I can see a lot of people happy with what's been happening there. It is probably a little bit cheesy for more adult type fare, but I guess that's what people want out of the show, starring a teenage girl. So I'm happy for the people that are watching it, but sadly neither you or I are getting into it. But at this stage, maybe down the track sometime. Mm-hmm. But going back to Justice League Dark Apokolips War, they did another online watch party this past week for that film, and that was followed by a pre-recorded panel involving cast members, including Jerry O'Connell, who voices the role of Superman. That whole video is up on our website if you'd like to check it out, and you can order Justice League Dark Apokolips War through our website while you're there. It is rated R in the US there, which is for strong bloody violence and some language. And I would have to agree with that rating.
Yeah, I was about to say, one of the clips I saw was just like, did they just do what I think they just did? And that's another thing that kind of turned me off. Is just like, I really don't want to watch this right now. I mean, eventually, I actually have a friend kind of nudging me to, but I'll get to it eventually. When it pops up on the DC Universe app, I'll check it out.
Yeah, cool. All right, we're at the halfway point of tonight's show. We're going to come back after these messages to talk about TV stuff. So we'll be back right after these messages. Don't go anywhere.
We'll be back in a moment with the exciting climax of today's episode. So stand by.
Look, up in the sky.
It's a bird.
It's a plane. No, it's SupermanHomepage.com, the #1 Superman fan site in the world. SupermanHomepage.com, covering the world of Superman from the 1930s to today. News, reviews, rumors, and reports. SupermanHomepage.com for all your Superman comics, TV shows, movies, cartoons, radio shows, and more. Everything you ever wanted to know about the Man of Steel and more. SupermanHomepage.com.
Thanks, Superman Homepage, for all the support over the years. I really appreciate it.
I'm Matt Balmer. I'm the voice of Superman in Superman Unbound, and this is the Superman Homepage.
Right here on Superman Homepage.
Oh, that outfit's adorable! It's perfect! I think it's time to have some fun. at Burger King. Excellent!
Yeah, that sounds great. What are you watching?
Superman fighting Brainiac?
Could you turn it down?
Cool new Superman toys are now at Burger King. You can get one with every Kids Club meal.
Well, what have we here?
Whoa. Burger King Kids
And we're back on WGBS TV Live, brought to you by supermanhomepage.com. And before I forget, if you're enjoying this video, then please like and share it below. Share it with your family and friends. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and click on the bell so you can receive notifications whenever we post a new video. And you can get involved in our YouTube membership program where there are different levels of perks. And if you want to support the Superman homepage, you can also do it through patreon.com/Superman homepage. All right, TV side of things. We had an interview with Kristen Crook on tvline.com where she spoke about how she feels about Lana Lang appearing in the upcoming Superman and Lois TV series played by Emmanuelle Chriqui. And she told them, I don't know a ton about the show, but it sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. She's a great character, and with the freedom that's afforded creators right now in regards to comic book characters, I think they can adjust and adopt her into a more modern position in the world.
What were they expecting? I mean...
No, they can't use Lana again. I can only be the one who plays this character.
It's just like one of those things where I get... So I'm in a snarky mood anyways. I saw an article yesterday or the day before where somebody wrote an article about the fact that they removed Ruby Rose's images from the 2021 season promotional materials for the CW. And I'm like,
why would they?
Why is that news? She quit. It's fine. These types of things usually, I can only imagine that the people writing the articles are looking for one of two things. Either they're looking for them to say, oh, that sounds like a good idea, I'm totally behind it, or more likely they're wanting them to go, oh no, I don't want that, and to have like a cat fight basically, or a Lana fight, I guess in this case, break out. And there's no, like, you're putting these performers in a really awkward position. And it's why when I read these articles, I'm like, yeah, we've got to cover it because it is, it's a legit thing. It's a former person who played this character now, talking about the next person. I'm not saying they look alike, though. All things being equal, I think they really could have just brought Kristen Crook in to play the adult Lana at this point, because she looks like an adult, but she's aged incredibly well.
Yeah, she has, and they're probably of similar age, Lana and in this show, and Kristen, where she's at in her career at the moment. But I've seen a lot of people complaining online that Lana is supposed to be a redhead, a ginger, and I was like, yeah, but we've had Jimmy be different colors, we've had Perry be different, races, we've had different hair colors for Lana. I mean, in the TV versions, we've only had 3 Lana Langs on TV. We've had Kristen Crook, brunette. We'll have Emmanuelle Chriqui, brunette. And then in Superboy, we had, I'm skipping on her name.
Stacey
Hyde, who was a ginger and was a redhead. Yes, in animated versions. In Superman 3, Lana was a redhead. But Lois has been a redhead, Lois has been a brunette. It doesn't really matter at this point in time.
Even the Lana they had on that one episode of Lois and Clark in the 3rd season in that alternate universe, she was like she was a brunette there too, and she was a nasty human being. It's one of those things where once you have broken that mold, the argument of it's not like the comic has less weight to me. Like it was like back when the whole argument of Amy Adams being a redhead. How can Lois be a redhead? And I'm like, did you watch the George Reeves series?
Most people.
That woman had some red hair. So it's just like, it's like one of those things of why are we finding things to complain about? Oh wait, we're comic book fans.
It's the internet. So
yes,
Superman and Lois is happening. We will see it in 2021. So in January 2021. So we keep an eye out for that and look forward to them getting back into the production side of things as restrictions lift. Are we still doing COVID-19?
Yeah, I mean it's still killing people. We just they just found a bigger distraction for it, and I'm kind of concerned. I know that the disease, through the research and stuff that they've done, is harder to spread outside, but you still have all of these people bunching up in groups, to protest, and most people are wearing masks, but not everybody. So
and they're yelling in each other's faces. That's it's concerning. See what happens.
So yeah, I'm kind of again we're playing that game of let's see what happens in 2 weeks.
On the still on the TV side of things, Dean Cain surprised me this week by appearing on Australian television morning breakfast show, where he spoke to the Today Show about his love of Australia. When he was here, he and Terry Hatcher, both at comic conventions, kind of broke some news about a possible revival show where they looked at where these characters from Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman, were 27 years later, 30 years later. And he kind of spoke to that on the show. I'll play a little bit of that clip right now as well. So just bringing that in, if I can find the video where he... Yeah, here it is. Here it comes.
It's going to be fine.
Thank you.
We need to get water up to the 7th floor. How's the water pressure? Good, but we'll never get our lines in there. Yes, you will.
How many times has he just stepped in and saved our lives?
What a guy.
Yeah, what a guy. And Superman himself, Dean Cain, joins us now from LA. Good morning.
What a guy.
What a guy.
What a guy. Good morning. Great introduction.
Yeah, I'm going to make us all feel a little old now, but it was 27 years ago that you donned the cape and tights. So how do you look back on that time?
First of all, thank you, Belinda, for reminding me it was 27. I look back on that time with extremely fond memories. It was an amazing start to a career, an incredible role. I couldn't have asked for anything more incredible. That's Tony Curtis.
It's Tony Curtis, I was about to say, yeah.
It's incredible. So I also, by the way, got the Frank Sinatra question right. 11.
Nice one.
Yes. But it was the greatest start to a career anybody could ever hope for. And when I get associated with the character now, I still am happy as a clam because who else? I mean, what would you want to be called if you're ever going to be called some character for life? I think Superman pretty much takes the cake.
Absolutely, and it's a great legacy to have too.
So there he just talks about the legacy of Superman, being identified with Superman even all these years later. He does go on to talk about that he and Terry have, thrown up the idea about coming back for a revival. I think it's pretty much just wishful thinking at this point in time. With a he speaks about the fact there is a new Superman and Lois TV series about to come on our TV screens, and therefore it probably puts them, behind any kind of wish fulfillment as far as getting a Lois and Clark revival going. But it would be interesting, I think. Done specials on other, like Fuller House and all those kinds of things where they've even, though it went without Roseanne for a while, the Connors and all that kind of stuff. There are revival shows that have happened. I don't know if it could hold the whole season, but I think it would be interesting to see, especially considering where Lois and Clark finished off at season 4.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings, mainly because Virginia kind of touches on it in the comments. In fact, she says she met him at Dragon Con. I did too. Probably was at the same one. But it was just personally, I find some of his comments these days to be not what I would want from a guy that played Superman. But on the other hand, that show still has a huge fan base. When we did that panel at Dragon Con back in 2018, it was really telling that when I said, hey, okay, so does anybody have an episode they didn't like? And not a hand, and the room was packed. No one raised their hands. So it's like one of those things where it would probably have a limited audience, and doing it on a streaming service would probably be good. I would just have to be kind of like, watching it through gritted teeth, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, he has said some things in his personal opinions on Twitter and social media that have rubbed a lot of people the wrong way because of his political stance on different topics. But, that aside, I think, as you said, there is still a huge following for Lois and Clark, and a lot of fans would be interested to see some kind of revival there. And if the actors are invested and interested, then I think, a 2-episode, 4-episode, whatever they want to do, just something special would be nice. But I don't see it happening anytime soon, especially considering that I think he was cut from Supergirl by the CW for those reasons that you just mentioned.
Yeah, and I'd be more wanting like an animated thing, in all honesty, because then nobody has to hit the gym overly.
Yes, that would be a problem. I don't think Terry would be having any problems getting back into the role of Lois. She still looks good at her age, but Dean would probably need to trim down a bit.
And unfortunately, we no longer have Lane Smith with you. Luckily, I have perfected a Lane Smith as Perry White impersonation. So once again, I'm offering my services.
Okay.
Though this time I'd want to get paid.
Yeah. Nice. So we'll see if anything happens there. But he does just... I guess he was invited to come on, talk about the show, and it's a topic that they want to discuss with him. So, of course, he's going to toot his own horn there.
Yeah, yeah. I think I should stop there.
All right. Well, let's turn towards the comic book side of things, and new comic books are back for Superman fans. We had Action Comics 1022 released this past week, and our reviewer James Lance, who's enjoying what Brian Michael Bendis and John Romita Jr. are doing, although he's probably in the minority. I didn't think this was a bad comic. It does feature Connor Kent and both Superboys, actually, together for the first time, as far as I can remember, them introducing each other to... I don't think that's ever happened before, John Kent and Connor Kent coming together. So that's an interesting story element.
Yeah, it's one of the ones, a friend of mine who has a blog that he reviews these most of the DC stuff at, said that it spoke very highly of it, and I love Connor. No, this is not enough to bring me back, but I like the idea of this, that we're kind of playing and not leaving anything out. Like we're acknowledging the fact that Connor was a thing, because I think it's really easy these days to forget how popular that character was and how much of a part of the Superman books he was for 13 years, excuse me, because he died and then he came back, but he wasn't as popular. But no, it's just, he had his own title for 100 issues. He was part of Young Justice. He was part of the Teen Titans revival. He had a very unnecessary death in Infinite Crisis. I like how they're hedging their bets with the costume. Like, it's the classic costume with the leather jacket and the straps and all that, but it's kind of a 2019, 2020 version of that.
Indeed. All right, let's look at what comics are available this week for Superman fans to read. And there is, as I said, Action Comics 1022, which is available in a nice-looking variant cover. Also available this week is Batman Superman number 9, and that is also available in a variant cover. We have yet to review that one, but the Action Comics review is up on our website. And also out this week is Legion of Superheroes of Silver Age Omnibus Volume 3, which is available in a hardcover. And that is what's out this week. And there's also, and I haven't got the covers for them right here, but on the digital side of things, World's Finest Batwoman and Supergirl #1 was released on Monday, and Deceased Hope at World's End Chapter 2 is available today.
I'm also going to point out that for those that do like digital comics, there is a massive Superman sale on Comixology right now. Action Comics isn't a part of it, but basically everything else is like $1 an issue. I've been wanting them to do a Superman sale for a long time now. And if you're a Legion fan, like all of the Legion is up there too for cheap. So it's a good week for Superman fans on the digital side.
Michael, Justin's asking, can you show us your crypto shirt? Looks awesome. 10 out of 10.
I will stand up a little bit, and hopefully you can see it.
Nice.
A little close to it, but yeah, he's growling. It's kind of adorable. This actually looks like my dog Gracie in her natural state of snarling at people. So yeah.
So there you have it. We also last week, I think Anthony in the comments mentioned it last week. Supergirl #41 was released last week as a digital only comic book, and the review of that is also up on our website, which was written by Adam DeChannel, who gave it a 3 out of 5, saying that it's like DC has given up on Supergirl, and that kind of feels like it's a little bit true, with this being the penultimate issue, with #42 out next month, also only available digitally. So if you're a Supergirl fan, you might have missed that one because it is only digitally available, and that is on Comixology as well.
Sweet.
All right. Now, due to what's been happening there in the US, a lot of people have been turning to Superman for his inspiration. And I look back at some of the public service announcements that were part of the 1950s onwards comic books, and these were published by DC Comics in collaboration with the National Social Welfare Assembly, which were these things were promoting harmony between people of different races, creeds, and nationalities. And a couple of examples are here for you guys to check out. They look at things for like human rights. There's others, Lend a Friendly Hand, and this one, which I posted on our Twitter account, People Are People, and they're all obviously designed to teach a lesson, and looking at social justice and different things like that, and very relevant even to today, even though these were published back in the 1950s and 1960s. These types of things can still teach us lessons in this day and age.
Yeah, it's one of those things where this modern concept that comic book characters shouldn't be political or shouldn't talk about social issues just ignores everything about comic book history, actually. I'm not going to say it's like it ignores this or that. It ignores a huge swath of things. And these educational pages in particular, some of them were a little heavy-handed, but I think a lot of them had a really good message behind them, and was just trying to use Superman and other characters to, kind of talk to kids. There's this concept that, kids won't listen to adults, but they'll listen to their favorite characters. This also is why advertisers wanted to link Superman up to like Pep cereal, because then kids would want to eat Pep and bug their parents to buy it for them. But, when you look at, there was a video that was going around recently talking about how Superman basically lost his relevance early on because he went from being the champion of the weak and the oppressed to being kind of like, a democratic shill for whatever government is in charge at the time. And I'm like, you're leaving out a lot of stuff in that. And at one point I'm like, why aren't you talking about the radio show? And then at the very end of the video, it's like, well, if you want to see Superman, discuss social things. Read Superman smashes the Klan. I'm like, what? Seriously. But no, I think that when done right, you can really have these characters say something important. And if you're the type of person that's going to sit back and think you're being preached to, or think, well, Superman wouldn't say that, well, obviously he just did. It was there on the page. But more to the point, this is what this character has always been about.
Yeah, indeed. Anthony in the comments asking me, when will Supergirl number 42 be out? June 30 is the release date for that digital issue of final issue of Supergirl. So June 30, Supergirl number 42, the final issue of that series, will be available for digital download. So check out those PSA ads that were included in comic books. There's a number of them, a dozen or so, on our website, and they are very relevant even till today. And if you haven't read Superman Smashes the Klan, you should check that out as well. That's getting a good run at the moment from people. But 1940 Superman Radio is ideal material if you're interested in Superman tackling some pretty interesting subject matter. All right, the Super Trivia Quiz is up again, a new edition for this beginning of this new month. And the 3 questions we're asking you this time around are, which villain was responsible for the destruction of Krypton in the animated Superman the Animated Series? What was the name of the villain who claimed he was responsible for destroying Krypton in the recent The Unity Saga Superman comic book story? And lastly, which character traveled back in time to Krypton's past to try and save Superman's future in the sci-fi TV series Krypton? If you think you know the answers to all 3 questions, don't say anything in the comments here. Go to the Superman homepage website. Under the favorites menu, you will find the Super Trivia Quiz. You can submit your answers and your entry there, and we will include the names of everyone who gets it right in the next Super Trivia Quiz, which will happen at the beginning of next month.
Yeah, I for the first time, because we usually read them here, I actually went to the site, and it reminded me of back in the day before I was really involved as heavily as I am now, going to that every month and being really excited for it.
Cool. It's interesting how many people are straight away onto it. I get these responses like the minute it's posted, and the same names come up from month to month as being the first to respond. So that's really cool. So get involved in the Super Trivia Quiz section of the website. All right, Michael. Well, we have time for a This Week in History, and I think I've tried to tie up some images, trying to preempt what you might be about to show us. So if I have them, I will post up the images as we go along.
Yeah, there's not much.
No.
So
okay.
It's kind of like...
Oh, I'll play you your intro. Hang on.
I was mad. That's what I was waiting.
Come with me now, my son, as we break through the bars of your earthly confinement, traveling through time and space.
Alrighty, we actually have to jump all the way. If I can get my... because I looked through a lot of things. I had to go to like 1990 for the first week of June.
Oh, really? Okay.
Unless I missed something, but this was Action Comics number 655, which...
I don't even have that.
That's okay. It's part of... they did all this month with the 3 Superman books that were around at the time. They did a bonus book at the end. It was 8 pages. And the main story was Lois infiltrating a domestic terrorist group. That feels timely. And Superman helping her with that. Yes, it is.
Okay.
And in the back of it, you had Ma Kent's photo album, which was a really cool thing drawn by Kerry Gammill. Jumping ahead to the year 2000. You had Supergirl number 46, which was written by Peter David with art by Leonard Kirk. You also had, and I love this, I wasn't a really big fan of the series, but I love that it exists. Superman and Bugs Bunny number 1 came out this week on June 1st, actually. This was at a time where they put out a 1,000 Superman miniseries. Like it's monthly. Because right around this time they were also doing like that Supermen of America miniseries, and trying to make a go of that. Jumping ahead to 2010, June 3rd, you had Adventure Comics number 12, which featured Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes in a very striking cover. You also had a book that shockingly at one point went for a lot of money on the back issue market, Superman Batman Annual number 4, because it had Batman Beyond in it, and it was like one of the early like mainstream DC Comics appearances of the character. I did miss one, didn't I? I missed World's Finest number 111 from 1960. I'm bad at this today.
I didn't have that one.
That's okay. It has a very that's not a cover that you really want to show. It is not aged well, is what I'm saying. Birthday wise, Stephen Bender, who is young Clark Kent, Superman Returns, was born in Missouri in 1989 on June 2nd. Also on June 2nd, Ron Ellie, more known I think for playing Tarzan, but he was Superman in the awesome one of the alternate reality episodes of Superboy. He was born in Hereford, Texas in 1938. Wow, he was actually a really good person to play Superman at that time. June 5th, artist Wayne Boring from Superman and Action Comics was born in 1905, and that is pretty much it for this week in history.
Yeah, we also just late last week, had the birthday of Aaron Smolinski, who played baby Clark Kent, baby Kal-El, if you like. He also went on to star in Superman 3 as a little boy there at the photo booth, and then was also in Man of Steel as the soldier there in the background. He did have a line that ended up on the cutting room floor, but that's pretty cool that they included him in multiple movies, even in Man of Steel. I think that was a nice little tribute there, so that's pretty cool. And the man standing next to him, who also had a birthday, I think the day before Aaron, so he played Emil Hamilton in Man of Steel, Schiff.
Yeah, Mike Zuma reminded me that it was the Road to Hell episode of Superboy that Ron Ellie was in, and he did look like in shape Marlon Brando.
Yes. So that pretty much brings us to the end of tonight's program. Before we do sign off, I'd like to thank everyone for tuning into tonight's episode of WGBS TV Live. I want to thank all those people in the YouTube comments for your participation in the show. We love the comments and the questions that you guys throw at us as the show goes on. And a huge thank you to our sponsors and patrons, Douglas Meacham, John Patrick Van Pelt, and Tina Murray. And to my co-host, Mr. Michael Bailey. Thank you, Mike.
Pleasure as always, Steve.
Now, if you want to sponsor the Superman homepage, please head to patreon.com/Superman homepage, where you too can be a sponsor for as little as $1. You might also like to become a Superman homepage YouTube member. All you have to do is click on the join button below. Now, the complete 1 hour video of tonight's show will remain available on the Superman homepage website and our YouTube channel. If you'd like to watch it back in full, maybe you tuned in late and missed some of the show, you'll be able to watch it at those two locations. But we'll be back next week on Tuesday, June 9th at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time for another edition of WGBS TV Live. Look forward to talking to you then. Until then, be sure to check out supermanhomepage.com for all your daily news updates on everything surrounding the Man of Steel. I'm Steve Eunice. On behalf of myself and Michael Bailey, thanks for watching WGBS TV Live, brought to you by supermanhomepage.com.